from OBS.
Now I got my fucking shit grabbed your face. And this fucking shit.
Oh, one thing is if there's any delay on the
I
audio.
just fixed that.
You did?
Yep.
Oh, you're the man. Because I was going to say they're probably going to point that out if there is.
So it shouldn't be an issue. It's not an issue with my camera at all. The only thing I read is that your camera is going to process things
A little bit differently?
1 to 2 frames out of 30 a second, so it shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, it should be all right.
But
Check.
I might have to just go less over your shoulder so it doesn't grab your face.
I think it's okay because I want to be like this.
Yeah, but it was the autofocus was grabbing you, and I
Oh,
was way out of focus.
yeah.
Again, if I gotta get up and do something.
I mean,
not the
pretty
end of
much
the
I'm
world
going to be
either.
like this.
Yeah.
And I'm not even on right there.
I'll be over here too for the most part. All right, check. I don't like these stands.
This thing, it doesn't go out enough, and it should be like on this.
Yeah, I mean we can move them, but initially we weren't.
Yeah, we'll fix it next time.
Fucking. This was over here last time too, so it's like everything's
Different.
yeah. All right,
like-
so this is
I feel like the knuckles aren't like tight enough.
I think we might be live. Not even sure.
First
This
one,
is
guys.
live, yeah.
First one, guys.
Well, because yeah, just make sure. Bring OBS down here. Boom. Okay, yeah, we are live.
We're live right now?
Yes, just working out some kinks. Bear with us.
Yeah, just got a notification. Look at that, guys. We are on a milestone here. First monochrome memoirs, Rose Glen.
All
Straight.
right, so switch is working. Boom, boom.
We good?
Yeah, we're good. Let's see, we can. Just give me a second, guys. I'm going to pull up the comment section so we can all kind of stay in the loop.
Does look like there's a little bit of a delay on it, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, leave a comment. Let us know let me know if I am in sync here. My voice, 1, 1, 1, 2. This is going to be way behind.
Okay,
of course.
all right, so you're paying attention to
yeah,
this. Okay,
this is
all right,
what's
yeah.
accurate. This is going to be what they're seeing, but
Yeah, chat. We're just trying to figure out the kinks here, but we're like 90% there.
boom, boom. All right, so I just got to overlay the chat in here.
Hell yeah.
All right, so we'll do a
Can you turn that a little bit just so I can see also too? Yeah, that's good.
video. macOS screen capture. We'll call this chat. All right, guys, give me a second. Boom, boom, boom.
Toby, Jesus Christ, bro, you okay? My dog's here fucking farting. Jesus, you alright, buddy?
Oh my God.
Oh, buddy, you alright? What'd you eat, big guy? Alright, go in your bed. Lay down.
Shit, I gotta crop this. It's option. What's the fucking shortcut? This is just rescaling it. If you want to.
Because if we don't even get it up there,
I can put it up there. I don't know why the crop's not working. I thought it was shift. I thought that was the command, but oh, there it is.
oh, nice.
It's option, not shift.
guys are seeing how the sausage gets made here.
Right. Alrighty.
Look at that. We got the chat up.
I don't know where it should be, but
That's fine. All right, guys. We're talking 2026 photography trends. So throw your questions up in the chat. Doesn't have to be related to the topic, but just throw up anything that you guys want to talk about. Rose Glenn and I are starting this new format where we're going to start live streaming. So a major part of this was I definitely want to heat up the channel again. Obviously, you guys know how it goes. Like during the year, I'm so fucking busy with everything, and then I get to the tail end of my editing for the year. Weddings have pretty much dropped off, and then I start to want to talk about all this stuff I've learned this year, the insights I've had, whatever. But I'm bringing in John from Rose Glenn with me on these videos because he's a professional videographer. We work together. We've known each other for over a decade now. And he's got a lot of insights on the videography side too. But the thing is we really want to do it live so we can bring in more just conversations live with you guys, but also live photo reviews, video reviews, portfolio reviews, stuff like that. We want you guys to start throwing us your content so we can bring it up on the screen and we can talk about it live on stream. I think that's a good way to just kind of have everything more interactive. I've been doing this channel for so long and kind of just throwing information out there to you guys. And, it's cool. You guys love it. But, being able to actually interact with you guys live on camera. I mean, what other photography channels do live portfolio reviews and photo reviews? Have you seen that?
live? No, I've seen a few others. But we're just testing the waters here. You know, see what happens. I've seen some. I do like to watch the. I got to work on the mic and the switching, so forgive me. I'm just getting into the.
Everything will get a little bit. We're 90% there, but there's just some things that we're gonna have to dial in for these. But we just said, fuck it, let's just go live and just start doing this, and then we'll review it and just see what needs to actually change.
Yeah, I think the live aspects, I'm okay with some informalities and some imperfections because I don't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so we're just dialing this in. Next time I won't have to do all this stuff. This will all be set up. We didn't want to run a whole practice, test stream. I didn't want to bombard your, I didn't want this channel to have a test stream that, then I got to clean it up over here. So let me just 100%. Figure out this while they're watching, you know what I mean? But
yeah, I think we can dial it in for sure. But another thing too that I wanted to say is we're going to start putting out these as podcasts. We thought that would be a good idea because, ever since I started this, literally people have been asking me to do podcasts, and I've been the worst fucking YouTuber ever.
Yeah.
I literally have been the worst YouTuber. We can talk about that first off. I am the type of person that I just go with impulse ideas for this channel. I would literally wake up, or I would fucking go to bed thinking about an idea or something like that. I would wake up, throw the camera on, put a light on me, and just talk about whatever I was thinking about. There was no strategy behind this. And then all of a sudden I have all these followers, and people have been asking me to do all these different things. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the podcast has been kind of a consistent thing throughout it. And I get that because, a lot of people don't pay for the YouTube premium or whatever. So you have ads, you can't run in the background. Having a podcast with these talks, I think I think that'll be a good idea. But we're going to do that too. So in addition to live streams, guys, you guys are going to have podcasts.
Yeah, I've been pushing you to get on that for a while. I think, years ago I had my own podcast and I just used it as an excuse to talk to my friends. No one was even watching, but it was I don't see these guys enough. Let me, come in here, do a podcast for an hour. We hang out. Yeah. And it turned out to be super fun. I really enjoyed it. And now you have this base on the channel, and I think you're doing a lot of talking head stuff anyway. It's honestly probably just easier on you to just friggin' hit record and have a live stream or have a podcast rather than, if the information is really just the main focus of the video, it's not everything else. There's no high-end editing or anything. Let's just go live. Let's just give people a chance to jump in on the conversation and whatnot. So
I think that's a good idea because we were talking how many times coming home from wedding. John, you guys don't know yet. You'll get introduced to John, but he's a straight up videographer. That's what he does. He's also a really good photographer too, but how he makes his money is videography. And I bring him on to weddings, So if a couple reaches out to me and say, hey, we really want video, I'll recommend John because we have a good flow. We work together. And every single time we're going to the wedding throughout the years, we have conversations around the industry, you know? I mean, not just industry conversations. We're also talking about fucking conspiracy theories and aliens and shit like that too. But we have all this stuff, and we're like, damn. Once we finish the conversation, we're always like, damn, man, we should have recorded that and like put it up on the channel. So that's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Back to the podcast. I think we actually recorded one. Oh, I'll tell you live because I didn't even get a chance to tell you. I thought my micro SD card was corrupted, and I was texting Will, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to I'm in the terminal of my computer. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm trying to just like make this work. Repair the disk or whatever. And I'm not I'm a nerd, but I'm not a nerd about that stuff. So I didn't know what I was doing. Turns out I came in here today and the card was still in the thing. So the podcast is fine from last week. It's
Rookie.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, normally I don't record internally on that. I'll stream to the computer and everything will be spit out in one file. We started doing everything different last week, and that let me here we go. I forgot to switch.
Well, this is what I'm saying, man. We're going to get into a flow with the actual streaming part of it and the technical part of it, but we're just trying to hit play.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do it before I guess you got to crawl before you learn to walk, right?
Exactly.
I'm going to adjust my camera real quick.
So, guys, while we're kind of just chopping it up and everything, definitely throw your questions in the chat. I want to, hear what you guys have been working on, stuff you guys are seeing. We're going to be talking 2026 photography trends because I had a lot to say about just what I've seen. I mean, I don't know. I was having a conversation with John about this too, about the channel in general, and he's always asking me what's the deal? Why are you just putting out videos and then stopping for a huge portion of time or whatever?
Right.
And I'll be honest with you guys that once I actually got the following, I wanted to make sure that the stuff I was talking about I was completely qualified to be talking about it, because I hate the idea of people getting channels going, putting out content, trying to be an educator without actually knowing what the fuck they're talking about. It does bother me. I'm kind of an idealist in that way. So I always kind of struggled with that back and forth. Hey, should I, learn more before I should be telling people how to do their, what's that yours?
The chair. Fucking
there
chair
we
is
go.
broken.
We need a new chair. Add that to the list.
Yeah.
No, but I come out and I want to say that if I'm going to talk about something, I want to make sure that I'm qualified completely to talk about it.
Right.
So now, 5 years into the channel, I have 350 weddings under my belt.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the trends. I've seen what works, what doesn't. I have a consistent list of referrals. I'm actually running a business that's self-sustaining now. So it's I feel like I can come in and I can actually talk with more authority on a lot of this stuff, not just the gear stuff, but everything about the industry as well.
Right. I don't know if I'll ever feel qualified to discuss anything. I'm always actually a few steps ahead of where I feel like I am. You know what I mean? I'd never actually.
That's because you're humble.
Yeah, I maybe too much. Maybe too humble.
You're definitely too humble, dude. You got skills, and I hear what you're saying, because I don't like people who come off. I don't know. I don't like people who come off as arrogant with their stuff when you can go clearly look at what they're putting out, and that all of our stuff, guys. It's in the links. You can go to my website. You can see, if you're new on the channel, you can see what I'm doing. But you are too humble, I feel because you got skills and you've obviously created significant demand for what you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't even like talking about myself like this.
Dude,
but
you're on stream now.
Yeah, I know. I guess I've created back to you just said autonomous. I've created, where I have these few clients that keep me busy year round versus where you're constantly trying to sell weddings, because
new clients.
Hopefully they're not repeat clients. Hopefully they're only getting married once, So I never loved the sales part of everything. So the more I could find someone that I could just get into the rhythm of things with, and I could shoot with them a few times a week, whether it be a company
commercial
or
clients.
It's easier on me, and it takes I was spending 50% of my time on sales and marketing, and now I'm spending 5 or 10% of that time on that, and it allows me to either just have more family time or focus on the art itself.
Stuff,
right?
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth about this too, because I feel like people get into photography or videography, and there's just two avenues that you can actually make money in. It's either commercial or it's weddings. I mean, there's other obviously ways to make money, but the big money is either in weddings or commercial work,
Right.
And it's two different sides of the brain. And yeah, I mean, for me, I'm constantly chasing a new client, always. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I spent years and years and years like that too. And honestly, I just recently kind of had enough. 2 or 3 big conventions a year, and a consistent, commercial client, and then the rest of the stuff fills itself in. Really.
Yeah, but like the good thing about yours is you're since you're doing commercial, like your main job is to understand their brand, and then kind of bring what you do in alignment with that. I mean, I guess it is for weddings too, but at the same time, like I feel like I'm learning. Like every wedding's a new photo project because
Right.
I have to learn their personalities. I have couples that, like I just booked a couple. They were on the call. They had Metallica t-shirts on. They're cool as hell. You know what I mean? They're really just kind of into my more dark, hardcore like type of photo vibe.
Right.
But then I have other people that are just like less than that. They're more in the Cape Cod stuff. They want bright and airy. And I gotta, if they want to book me, I gotta kind of adjust a little bit.
So we have this conversation all the time. Like, how much do you adjust? How much should we even be willing to adjust, or how much should it be like, this is what I do, and this is what I'm good at, and this is why you book me? The commercial side of stuff, I'm always catering to their business. Like, and we've had this discussion where a lot of times it doesn't feel like it's my art because I would have done things so many different ways, and maybe I even did do it a different way and sent it to them, and they wanted these changes, and then I got to go explain to someone who doesn't understand storytelling or doesn't understand filmmaking, and I have to say, well, this shot doesn't seem short once you make this one short too. Like, this one's long for a reason. This one, you know what I mean? If everything needs to, so I go and I make all their corrections, and then it looks terrible, and it's like everything they want, but they didn't know any better, and
Does it look terrible though, or does it just look to you? It looks terrible because it's not your thing.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think so. For example, we worked for a city, me and Danny once. We did like for a city government, a big tourism video where we, spent weeks shooting this. Huge edit. Like they kept sending more money, but they kept sending pictures and like low quality JPEG. We want this in there. We want like, the duck statues that are in Boston Common. We want this picture of that in there. And I'm like, dude, like we spent weeks shooting like high end stuff, and
this is what you want.
It became a slideshow.
Right.
And I'm like, this is not,
I mean, this is such a good question, man. And because this topic comes up with photographers, especially wedding photographers, all the time. It's like, do I feed into what I see that's popular right now? Or do I listen to the clients who tell me, hey, I like this type of work, even though I've only done, I only have 3 photos on my portfolio that kind of fit that mold,
Right.
Do I try and like oscillate between? So this is my take on it, right? I feel like if you're a real photographer, okay, or, just a real artist, media artist, right? I feel like you should be able to do good photo work and put your stamp on it in a lot of different ways. I feel like you should be able to produce what the client wants within a certain boundary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like within a certain style, absolutely. But you should be able to be flexible. Like you shouldn't be a one-trick pony, I feel like. I mean, I guess we can talk about price levels.
Yeah, well, we have this discussion too. It's like I spread myself pretty thin in terms of the type of things I shoot. Therefore, like no one looks at me as a specialist of any sort of industry because I'm doing weddings, I'm doing hairdressing stuff, I'm doing live events, I'm doing, live streams, I'm doing everything that,
Weddings.
construction, whatever it is. So I just don't know. I mean, I guess for like we talk price points. Once you get into a certain price point, people want specialists, and you're no longer really where they're looking.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
In the commercial world, they just work with an agency at that point when the budget's big enough. So you're also, I don't know. I mean,
You could no, you're 100% right, because I am seeing like at my price points now, I am seeing people who do want a specialist for sure. But I guess what I'm saying is like for perfect example, right? Is I do a lot of movement with my photos. I really emphasize movement. I emphasize creative lighting. I emphasize a lot of like things that communicate connection, right?
Right.
So a lot of that stuff ends up being, more stuff that highlights movement. I had a couple who reached out and they're like, "We love your style, but we don't really like the movement stuff. Like we're not really
Fair.
into that."
Whatever.
Yeah, it's totally fair. And that's totally fine. Like, so I can go to this, like when I go, I'm doing their engagement shoot next month, right? And so when I go and do that, like obviously everything's going to be in focus. There's not going to be moving, but I'm going to be focusing on a different dimension of what I do. So it's like, I should be able to have a couple come to me and be like, we like your style overall, but like, here's kind of what we want, and then be able to tailor that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how I work with everything. I guess my dilemma is like I'd rather just do what I wanted. You know what I mean? Hopefully I can get to a point where it's like, this is why you're booking me. Don't expect me to change the style of anything. But honestly, now my style's got to the point where it's pretty commercial and pretty clean and pretty like
It is.
Because that's generally what I'm asked for. But it's very easy for me to switch that off like on the dance floor and start going crazy like I'm in a nightclub, or you know what I mean, go back to my roots of like music and entertainment and things like that. So I think, like you said, there's that element of being able to you know, like have someone come to you and say, hey, we love your style, but not so much this, you know what I mean, and being comfortable doing that too. Not offending anybody, you know, because some people are like, if you don't like the way you know what I mean? It's like some people are just like, this is how I do it, you know, you don't like it, then go with someone else type of thing. But I'm always very accommodating, because it's just like, I found being easy to work with more important than being the best. Like, not that I don't want to be the best, but like...
From making a living standpoint,
and
for sure.
we can go into that deeper from an artistic level or like a business level. But definitely, if you're trying to make a living, like, you have to be easy to work with. And you have to do a lot of shit you might not want to do. Like, we talked with Albert about the museum stuff he was doing, and it's like, who wouldn't want to just go shoot for a museum with total creative freedom? But like, we're not all in his shoes. I don't have 100 Vogue covers to like, you know what I mean, or whatever else.
To negotiate with.
Yeah, so it's sort of like, I mean, you got to do both. Like,
I feel like it's completely right. And I've always, I don't know, I contribute like a lot of my success, honestly, to the fact that I have been very easy to work with. And like, if somebody ever gave me feedback, like, you know, on anything, I never really took it to heart, like a personal attack. I always just like led with the fact that it's not about me personally. Like, I really just want the work to be as dialed in and as perfect as possible. And like, ultimately, right, what are we doing here? Like, if we're trying to make a living off of our art, what we're doing, right, we have to sell it to people.
right.
And so that means that we have to take the opinion of the crowd into account, like in a certain amount of way. Not totally,
Right. No,
but like,
agreed.
we have to listen to people and get feedback. And you can't get fucking offended and be like, you know, I'm the artist, like, you can't tell me anything. Like,
Right.
there's some videographers, right? I'll get in, you know, I don't want to say fights, but like, there's a little bit of like animosity or tension right when I show up to a wedding if I don't know that videographer,
Right.
because they think that like they're fighting with me for like this.
It is a
creative-
weird competitive thing.
It's
isn't
this competitive thing, yeah. And I always like completely break the ice. I walk up to him first, and I'm like, hey, like, I'm Will, like, I'm here to help. Like, if like let's work together on
Right.
this, you know.
Right.
So I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like to go back to that point that we were making earlier, that talk, like, you know, if you want to do this for a living, you have to really balance out that feeling of, I want my work to be really, really top notch and good, and I do want to be a specialist, but I also want to be able to like course correct so I can, you know, raise my prices and I can make, you know, a good living off this, and I'm not constantly chasing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Dude, it's the hardest thing for sure. What are you seeing? Let's jump onto trends. Let's piss some people off.
Okay.
What are you seeing with trends that you don't like nowadays?
With video, you know, what I don't like, but it just is the way it is that like lower end video, not like someone doing a bad job, but like cell phone footage, just the authenticity and organicness of that cell phone footage resonates with people so much better than high quality image does. Like when I make a high end video, it feels like an ad to people and they skip over it real quick. If you're kind of talking to the camera, you're just bullshitting with your phone. I find that like this trend of like lower quality video being more successful on social media. I get why it does.
You're not talking about lower quality from a terms of like, you know,
someone's not good
4K
enough.
or
No,
something
I mean
like that.
lower. I mean like this instead of like full production rig.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you can spend a bunch of.
The fact that a lot of it is going internal to the phone now.
Yeah, and that's not what bothers me. I guess it's just that, like, I know that if I do a high-end video, I spend months on an edit or something, you know, I chip away at it for like a long period of time. Like, this high-end video gets like skipped over because people just like they think subconsciously, oh, it's an ad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, whereas like if I just started the video off shooting the shit to my camera, I'm here doing this, you know what I mean? Like, come with me while I go, or playing into one of those trends of, you know, there's a time in your 30s where someone's gonna ask you to do this, you know what I mean? So like, you gotta play that to get the views. You know, I don't play that game because I deliver what I deliver to the clients, but I feel bad when the clients post like a really high-end video I made and it doesn't do well. And then I know they'll collab with their friend on a friggin' whatever iPhone, back in, and it's like boom. And so I'm like, clearly they have the audience, but like my video they spent all the money on and it didn't deliver in those terms of results. You know what I mean? So the trend for me that I'm seeing is like, sometimes I'm scaling back and my edits are getting simpler and I'm trying to just sort of fuse like some shaky handheld stuff that feels more organic, still high end in terms of quality, but almost trick people into thinking like it was done by a friend instead of a professional. I think that that's just one trend, and I don't think that's a trend for a better, that's just like fighting the algorithm. You know, I don't know if it's a trend.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. It really is. So I see the frustration with it because obviously, like,
I want to make dope shit, but I'm like, it's not going to get views. Like the simple shit.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, I feel like we're in this time, right, where things are like there's fucking shifting so much, right?
And as a photographer, you probably it's impossible to just get images seen. You got to make a reel. You got to do whatever else you got to do just to.
That's what I mean. Like, and so, like, I look at it as like, what are the boundaries now? Like, because I feel like every era, you know, it comes with a new set of boundaries in like areas like buckets or whatever where people are working in, you know? And so it's like, that's really where I feel like I can flex as like a really good creator and an artist is like understanding the culture and understanding like what's popular, what people want, and then putting my own spin on it within that bucket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many people, there's so many fucking photographers and videographers that get pissed that they have to constantly adjust and shift.
Yeah. Someone said presets on everything.
That's presets on everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean, dude. Like, and it's like, okay, he's right, you know? But it's like, are you gonna bitch and complain about evolution?
Right.
Or are you gonna get in the driver's seat of what you're doing
and make some fucking presets?
And make some fucking presets. Just to clarify, right? Yeah. I do use presets, but they're presets that I make.
Right.
Right. So I actually make my own presets for every wedding, and then I'll use those on it. But yeah, it's.
He's like, style. I actually spend all these hours instead of the $30.
Exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
Well, I have bought.
It's not the same.
You've bought presets in the past, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, like not like. I mean, I guess your fan base is mostly photographers, so maybe not in the term, like not Lightroom presets, but definitely pre-made effects and pre-made things in video, you know, just,
in your editing software,
that saved me so much time.
And I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but what I'm saying is like the days of being able to build your business around something that's just going to set and forget it into perpetuity, that's over.
Right.
Like things shift constantly. And you really have to, if you're going to be a creator, right? You're going to be doing weddings, you're going to be doing commercial stuff, you're going to be doing content that's going to be made for online, right? You're going to have to understand what the hell is going on out there.
Do you think some of these trends are like pushbacks to things like the algorithm? Because I'm noticing on video, like, I gotta make vertical video, which I hate because it's just not how the stuff's supposed to be seen. It's much easier if you know you're shooting and editing vertical going into the project, but a lot of times people want both, and it's like you just now. Anyway, I fast forward. Now I'm seeing the super wide ratio. Like I forget what the exact ratio, but it's becoming a video trend on Instagram.
Like a cinematic.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like a sliver of fuck. You know, I don't know. It's like a 22 by fucking 1 or something. You know, it's like tiny. I'm exaggerating.
So are they putting it? You have to turn your phone.
No, it's still there. It's just like I feel like people are fighting with the I got to take up all the screen with like let me take up as little of the screen as I can.
Push
and
back.
now like someone's gonna, it's gonna because it is different when you're scrolling through fucking big video. You know what I mean? It hits different. It makes you stop and go, "What's this?"
Yeah.
But how many times is that gonna work? You know, like until that.
It's a good point, and I feel like that. Okay, so the theory behind that, doing something that's different, that's going to cut through all the fucking noise, is great to be thinking about that, but this is what I'm saying about your skill. Like, how good are your skills that you can actually do something like that that's going to cut through the noise and then have people like get people's attention with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're working within this bucket, okay? Okay, I'm ready. Like, I kind of mastered this bucket, right? How am I going to kind of push it out, do something a little bit different? Well, your skills have to be good, man.
It's true. Yeah. 2026 #1 trend is quitting IG.
Quitting IG.
We talked about how just like the busiest of people, the busier we get, the less we post. My favorite photographers post once a month, maybe.
Right.
I probably do about the same.
So how much business do you get off Instagram?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't really. I should do a better job at like assessing that when inquiry
It's a
does come in.
small portion.
It's not a lot. No, almost everything is word of mouth from businesses and people I've worked with, just saying, hey, this person's trustworthy. This person's, will show up and deliver and whatever else. And
that's pretty much the same with me. So like in terms of Instagram,
I was just going to say, I know, I don't know if some people are introverts. I know a lot of people. And I think that's from kind of knowing 10, 15 years ago, like I'm going to need to build this network and doing that intentionally and doing a lot of free work so that people knew me.
Yeah, knew how you worked.
Yeah, exactly.
On site.
But some people just aren't like that. Like they're not social people. They feel
What are you
weird.
saying though? It's like not.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's hard. I mean, the only reason I think I'm working off of word of mouth is because of the network I had built for so many years.
Right.
Like, not everyone I guess they can do that, but not everyone feels comfortable, like, just doing that. Like, so a lot of them do rely more heavily on their social media and things like that rather than I do.
Here's the thing with me in Instagram, right? Is like, I get a lot of inquiries. Okay, I get on average 1 to 3 inquiries a day.
Are they usually like good leads, or are they usually just like
I'd say probably. So say I'm getting 1 to 3 a day. I'd say probably one of them on average a day are ready to book. They're looking for somebody.
That's good.
Right?
I mean, 7 a week is pretty substantial.
Good, for sure. But going back to like, where are they coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say only about 30% of them are coming from stuff they've seen on Instagram, and I have a lot of engagement. I don't have a shitload of followers. I think I have like 4,300, but I get a few hundred likes, on every photo set that I post.
I'm proud of you.
Just kidding. John's like, fuck you, dude. No, shut up. No, but seriously, like that. About 30% of my leads are coming from Instagram, but I don't post a shitload of stories. I post maybe 2 posts a week.
You're not playing the algorithm.
No, I'm using it. What I was trying to say is I'm using it for a second portfolio, because what happens is when people find me, they are going to my Instagram for sure, just to make sure I'm like, I hate using the word relevant, you know what I mean? But like, they're making sure that I'm active. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? And then the way I use Instagram is I intentionally put photos on Instagram that I'm not going to include on my portfolio. So it's
like a B gallery.
It's a B gallery. Exactly.
So that's where we differ, because me, like, I'll post shit that's like, I don't think it's a banger at all. I don't even think this should live in my portfolio, but I had so much fun doing this, or I wanted to share this. I've taken the approach of it's more of a personal brand than it is like my portfolio.
Right.
But there's pros and cons to both of those things, because when I manage socials for businesses, I think like that, like especially the businesses that are like expensive, like home remodeling, where you're like, people aren't booking someone necessarily off of Instagram, but they're sure as hell going there to make sure that they're doing the work, and they're not subbing everything out.
That's
so
what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's like, depends what industry you're in, like for that stuff, like most of the leads might come from word of mouth or Houzz or something, other platform like that, but they go and they check the Instagram. Mm-hmm. That's like the first thing you look at. If you want to find out if a business is open on a holiday or they're open today or something, and you can't trust the Google,
or how much work are they actually doing?
Right. Yeah. You go to like, what's the most up-to-date thing? It's probably the Instagram. If they haven't posted in a week and it's supposed to be a poppin' restaurant, you're like,
I get like, and I totally get the frustration, because like, a lot of us, especially on this channel, a lot of my followers are photographers who actually give a fuck about the art. You know what I mean? And it can get daunting if you feel like you have to focus on the presentation of it rather than the message of it, And if you don't get a certain amount of engagement, then it's like you're doubting whether or not it's good or if it's making an impact or whatever. I'm gonna kind of push back on deleting Instagram, and I'm gonna say that it really just needs to be viewed as a second portfolio. like in a networking thing for
Right.
other vendors, because a lot of my like traction and like the fact that people pay attention to my posts come from the fact that like I've gone out in the real world and I've made those connections with actual humans. So when I post something, they're reposting, they're accepting collaborations, things like that.
We've had this conversation off camera before too, where I said I feel like everything's coming full circle. Where it's like in the early days of Instagram, you could, people would blow up overnight, 500,000 followers in a week or something because they were just doing something no one had seen.
Yeah.
Now it's really hard to grow like that. So now I feel like the people who are growing are like actively doing shit in the real world, and people are just going back to stay in touch with what they're actually doing.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think
it's harder to fake it, honestly.
Yeah. Somebody said Instagram, Facebook, are they needed, and are they both needed, or do I need neither of them? Or I don't know exactly what they said, but
I'm gonna say honestly, I don't fucking use Facebook at all. Like I don't use Facebook at all, and I'm not gonna say that they're not needed, because that doesn't mean that there's not opportunity there. There's obviously clearly people on Facebook, but I haven't found Facebook was really important in the beginning of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Like I built basically Pearl Images. Like I built that off Facebook. I'd say for the first 3 years.
right.
But as my prices raised, I kind of feel like I was priced out of. I don't really know who's on there now. You know what I mean?
My buddy's son told him Facebook's for 100-year-olds.
This is what I mean. Like I feel like there's a lot of boomers on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I don't, and that might
And
not
they're
be
all
right.
sharing AI articles. They don't even know, like a fake
What
AI.
the-
Oh, Tom Brady saved 7 dogs from this river.
That's my
you know?
mom, dude. She sent me so many articles.
yeah.
She sent me one that said The Rock died. I'm like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
So somebody else asked, are we discussing content creators, photographers?
Content creator. That's a really good.
I mean,
point.
I think
how do you
we're
feel about content creators?
I think
with the
we're
video?
just discussing sort of just creative. I think the whole creative field right now.
Creative
I mean,
field in
yeah.
general, yeah.
I don't know, where does the line begin? Like, where do you separate content creators from photographers and videographers now that like much of what I do, I would consider content creation, but I certainly wouldn't call myself a content creator when someone asks what I do,
I mean, what do you think about people being on job sites just with a phone next to you while you're actually, the lead videographer?
It does irk me if they're like, if it depends. If we're both hired to be there by the same person, it's sort of like I don't have any more, I don't have any more leeway than they do. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're both hired
Even
to
if
do the
you're
same
the
thing.
lead.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean, who am I to, if it's my client, who am I to get in the way of what else they paid for? But obviously it irks me if someone's in my way with the fucking phone.
Right.
But if that's what I don't understand the paying two separate people. Like I could easily do both at the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't market it like that. They probably didn't even know that.
No.
That's what I'm saying. And like, I kind of feel like that goes into the whole thing that we're talking about, social media in general, and like the new climate with it is people are going to want it, dude. People are going to want it, like straight up. If you think it's a pain in the ass, or I think it's a pain in the, I have worked with content creators on weddings. Okay. And, they've been really nothing but like great to me, and just kind of like saying up front, like, look, we know that you're running the show here. We're not trying to get in your way. Is it okay if I just kind of shoot over your shoulder?
Right.
And that's totally fine. Yeah, like I have no problem with that, honestly.
Also, and like I said, I mean, if the phone content's going to do better on social media, it is what it is. Because like your carousel of images, no matter how good, isn't going to do as good as a crappy reel from the same exact
Well, it doesn't have the
environment.
same potential.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it can,
Right.
but most of the time, people like they're gonna stop scrolling when there's motion. It's just like, or like a talking head works well. Subtitles, obviously, most people are listening with their sound off. But like a carousel, now it's got to be like here. I mean, now you need like a title page with everything, and you need like a lengthy caption that's gonna really, and then it's got to have some videos within that carousel, and like for it to really do well, or anyone to find value from it, because. Maybe people just aren't looking, like in the early days of Instagram, I was like I was looking for photos.
Yeah.
Now I just like, I'm just like, I use it like a news feed. I'm like, oh, what's happening? You know what I mean? Versus like how I used to like look
Get
to be
inspiration
inspired.
for art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't look at it like that. So I think the perception of how we use these things also changes so often that, you know what I mean? It's like, everyone's got a different agenda, right? You're using it as a this someone else commented and said, a B portfolio somehow feels like less pressure because they don't feel like they probably have to be a content creator and keep up with the amount of people that are posting 7 times a day and doing all that stuff.
Whoever wrote that, man, like you're absolutely right, because I feel so much pressure to make sure that my website portfolio is so fucking dialed in.
Yeah,
like
you're gonna hate me for this, dude. Mine hasn't been dialed in years.
I am gonna hate you for that, because that's what I'm saying. Like I'm
working.
I know. Dude, trust me. I understand the struggles. Yeah. I was just telling somebody today, like I try and sit down to do something, and then I get 10 other requests for something else. You know what I mean? It's constantly pulling my attention. But that portfolio is like if you have a gas station, or if you're selling fucking clothes or retail, anything, that's your storefront.
Right.
That's like your representation of your brand.
I put myself last.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And
I put all my clients first, and I'm just like, whenever I have some free time, I'm gonna get to my portfolio. It's like there's never free time.
I think what you put first is your work.
Exactly.
Rather than just the clients.
Right. It's tough.
And that's what I'm saying is like, so having when I look at my wedding portfolio on my website, everything is arranged on there specifically. Everything, I look at the way it flows. I look at the ratio to black and white to, color photos. Like I'm very dialed in on that. The Instagram portfolio, the B portfolio, quote unquote, right? Way less pressure.
Yeah, I could see why. I mean, it makes sense to why. I think I put less pressure on myself by telling myself that everything doesn't need to be the best shit I ever did.
But think about it though, it's counterintuitive because you get that instant feedback on the B portfolio with people liking and commenting and sharing. But for some reason, like I just don't feel that it's as important to have everything so dialed in Instagram that I do on my website. Because honestly,
I'd agree with you for that.
Because and whoever comments that, the reality is what, even if they find you on Instagram, what they're going to do is they're going to hit Instagram first, and they're always going to go to your website, your portfolio, and that really needs to solidify them going to your contact page and sending you that inquiry.
So, what would you say to someone like me who, is busy, but like my website hasn't been dialed in years? Like
I would say it's time to really focus on that.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is like, so your Instagram, I feel like it's less important to have everything dialed in from like, I do this specific work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, cause you have a lot, like we were saying, you have a lot of different shit. Like you doing commercial stuff over here, doing weddings.
Hip hop, beauty, they have no idea what the fuck they're getting. You have models
on there, you have all this different stuff, right? Which it's all good work, but it's different, right? Mm-hmm. But then when they go to your website, it should all start to congeal.
Agreed. And I mean, I 100% agree. It's just like, I know that. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it. And I know we all could find the time, but it's like, dude, when you get a couple hours of downtime, last thing I want to do is
let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about the other issue that brings up, right? And why it's important. The saturation nowadays in what we do, right? Yep. Weddings are crazy saturated with people. Because dude, nowadays, bro, you can scrape together 10 grand. You got a camera, you got a professional lens, you got some extra batteries, and you got money for running some Facebook ads or Meta ads or whatever, right? So I mean, there is so many people. When I first started in this, we shot our first wedding in 2017. There was like, if your photos looked even slightly different, like we caught on really, really quick.
Right.
And as soon as people saw what we were doing, it was up and to the right pretty much, because we were using hard light. We were doing stuff that was different. We were really focused on the connection. We were, coming with a lot of dramatic stuff that really wasn't out there. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, there are amazing artists like literally everywhere. So you have to have that whole process dialed in, and especially on your website, because ultimately they're going, so when somebody is interested in booking me, they're talking to at least 5 other photographers.
Right.
At least. And the sales process is a lot longer now.
You know what's interesting is like I know that they're talking, but the second someone like puts me up against somebody else, like in an email, like I turned down a job in London a few months ago because one, they asked super last minute, and it was like 9 days out, and it was like a couple weeks before I was already going to Europe. So I was like, I don't know this, and I had worked with this company before, and they love what I did, but they kind of like nickel and dimed everything, and they had more money than God. So I was like, this just isn't
combined with the last minute,
right? And they were like, oh, we're just like comparing you to one other vendor, and I was like, you already worked with me, and I was like, that was it. I said, good luck with the other vendor, like I'm okay, thank you very much for thinking of me. But the second, like,
That's
you
funny
know,
they brought that up.
yeah, like, why were you trying to get, again, I think they were just playing this nickel and dime game.
That's
Like,
exactly
oh, he's
what
got,
they're
they want me to come in with a quote that is in fear of someone else having a lower one.
Yeah,
You know,
what's their number? I'll be
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no thanks.
I don't, nowadays, man, everybody's, the problem is, especially in weddings, right?
Yeah.
This is the biggest problem in weddings, is as soon as somebody gets engaged, they're getting blasted with content, dude. Yeah. Like they are literally getting so like overwhelmed with shit, and these people really don't know like who to trust. Was the camera fall off?
Your camera died because I realized that we're doing so many things we didn't.
Here, I'll throw another battery.
We didn't plug in the dummy battery like we did with mine. Look at this. I had the forethought. Oh, see, everyone's leaving now. You know, Will, what I do like is this question here, which I'll jump on while you do that. But 2026 trend. I don't know if this is a trend or they're actually asking a question, but creating photo zines and sending them to potential clients rather than sharing a link to your digital. Like, I think he means, he definitely means print, he or she. They definitely mean print, like sending like a, basically, like, not, they didn't want to say a photo book, but sending some sort of print media to a potential client versus digital. It's a great idea. I don't know how timely you can be with that, because I find in sales it's how quick you get back to people a lot of times. Weddings might be different if this is a wedding photographer. I don't want to jump because they're asking a couple years out.
No, I've heard this. There are actual photo studios now that are doing actual print zines, and I think that is a fucking great.
So I do it for clients after after a big trip. Like if someone was nice enough, the guys are nice enough to take me to Japan to shoot for 4 days. Like,
you're doing an actual print for them?
No, I made a book for him, and I just made one, and I said, here you go, to the big boss. It was an expensive book. I said, I spent a lot of time on it. I said, you fly me all around the world. You take me to these places. Like, he's an older guy. I'm like, we did a lot of things that were private. Like we had a Thanksgiving dinner at the big guy's house in the industry, and that stuff isn't going to go.
I wasn't contracted for.
Yes, but I wasn't going to post those digital images on Instagram of this guy's home, right? But I knew that it meant a lot because this guy had his kids with him and whatever. You know what I mean? So like, I made him this book, and man, he was so happy.
Dude.
Like, so I like that idea in terms of like giving back after I wrap something up. I don't know if you can bang something out super quick like that, or you have maybe a bunch ready.
I think it's whoever brought up that comment, dude. This is exactly what the hell I'm talking about, honestly, because this is the way that you're going to actually set yourself apart, honestly. Like, people are looking for, I hate the word experience with these because it's such a buzzword. Like, everybody says, the experience or whatever, but it's so true, man. Like, the whole process. I'm a photo purist in the fact that, like, I don't think that wedding photos should live on a hard drive.
I don't think any photo should live on a hard drive.
Exactly.
Well, they should live there, but they should also live somewhere else.
They should be displayed, man. Like, I was actually just talking to somebody about this too. Like, if you're a photographer and you're not printing out your photos and pasting them all over the walls and stuff, like, what the fuck are you doing?
We were talking about how I bought a cheap little 4x6 printer or whatever, and I print like almost everything now just so I can see it, because sometimes if you're holding it and you're like flipping it around, like, I don't always rotate photos on my phone, especially if something a little more abstract. A photo of a person you're not going to post upside down, but like, sometimes I'm just like flipping shit and I'm like, this looks way better like this than it did like this. Or maybe I just missed something, and having a physical, and then be able to lay them out and see how they work with certain, other photos together. If you're going to work in a print medium, like, you need to know how that one on the left page is, looking at them on a template of a book is not the same as like laying them out and seeing how they actually,
you're absolutely 100% right. You're absolutely 100% right, man. And I just feel like, so just to touch on that real quick again. So I started including photo books with my packages, right? Because nobody else, people charge in this industry. I'm not going to hate on my other colleagues' processes or whatever, their sales processes, but people charge a shitload for these books in the wedding industry. They're like $1,500. You know what I mean? And I started including them because my costs were better from the people that I use. And honestly, man, I would get on these calls and I try and sell these to these people and like highlight the fact you're getting the best quality photo. This isn't a Shutterfly book. You know what I'm saying? This is a museum grade heirloom that's literally going to last for like 100 years.
Right.
Okay, that you can pass down. it didn't really move the needle in terms of the sales. And it drove me nuts because like that should be included for sure.
You're not speaking to photo purists, one. You're speaking to
Just
There's
consumers.
I made another book for the. I mean, this is kind of off topic, but I went out to Wyoming over the summer and I had a great time at this dude ranch, and they were like the greatest couple that owned it, older
Photos
couple.
were sick, by the way.
So I made a book for them, and also my girlfriend's family who took me with them. So I made 2 books, and I made one for them and one for, and again, not even a client of mine, but just like as a thank you, like you guys did a lot for us. You know, it didn't take me all that. I shot the photos anyway. I was doing that anyway. It made me happy to see the book. You know what I mean? It made them super happy. Now everyone who goes to that ranch is probably sitting on a coffee table. You know what I mean? So, I think printing. I mean, Tyler Shields. You know, he says, you know, print a photo's made in the print. You know, it's not like that's where it's actually made. Like your photo, it's not anything until you print it out and it comes out the way you want it.
Exactly.
Because, you know, if even printing subpar, like printing on my own, I'm always like, this is never right. You know what I mean? I'm like, I look at my own photos, print, and I'm like, I don't know. And then you take it to a print shop or a specialist, and you go over what the problems I had with my, then they're able to nail it. I'm like, that's a whole different art that like I don't.
It's
even,
a whole different art.
I'm not even good at. And then I start to question again: Am I even a photographer if I can't nail this aspect of the?
Well, dude, you're
know
a
what I mean?
photographer in the 2025,
Right.
20, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like in this day and age, nobody knows about printing. And it is a way that you can really set yourself apart, especially in this type of industry.
I thought I knew. Like I thought I had read enough about it. You know what I mean?
no.
But then you start to get
Hands
your
on,
hands
bro.
dirty, and then you're like, dude, I am not fucking good. I get. Yeah.
How many times do I say that too? Like I put up a video on this channel about, you know, something technique related or something like that.
Right.
And like I almost feel like a fraud. Like everything I'm saying is true and everything I've learned over the years and I'm putting out in that video is true. But it's like in the back of my mind, I know nobody's actually absorbed this information in the way it's actually going to help them in the photography until they actually go out there and actually do it. It's the same with printing.
Right.
Like you can learn all you want by reading things,
Right.
but it all has to be done repetitively in the real world. You know.
Absolutely. So we got a couple other questions in here, I think. Somebody was asking about your lighting setup. They said this isn't really a photography question, but they still wanted to know about your lighting setup.
So guys, I always pretty much just use one light on,
No. I mean your
on my portfolio.
No. On like on the I think on the Jack Cruz topic almost. Like the lighting in your room, like
the
like
actual
indoor
lighting?
light. I think that's what they were getting because they said it wasn't a photography question.
Okay.
Let me look back at this.
Specify. You're talking about like UV IR type light from the Jack Cruz interview. You guys talking about?
Scrolling on the wrong thing. Not a photography question, but are you still using the UV lamps? Do you think it helps with cognition?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I use UV lamps. So my editing station. If you guys go back, I have a video on that. I'm still using those lights that are in that video, and yeah, absolutely, bro. You don't want to be staring at blue screens with no UV or infrared around you at all.
Back to going full circle, I saw a meme, or not a meme, it was like a reel today, but somebody was like, why I'm going back to like my tube TV or whatever, because the one they were using as an example wasn't LED lit. They were like, I don't have to deal with subscriptions. They put in a VHS tape, and they're like, I get to own my stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, we're doing this. We always do this.
Dude,
so it's like,
it's a wheel. Life is a wheel, bro. It keeps coming around, and it goes back to, well, just to touch on that, yes. The answer is yes. I use UV and IR lamps at my editing station, and so I get that full spectrum in my eye while I'm looking at a screen. But to go back to the trends that come back around, right now, like the 90s feel is like really, really back in style. It's coming into the weddings. I mean, I'm seeing stuff like, so like I was born in 82. Like I grew up on like, you know, grunge, 90s grunge, like that shit is part of my soul, who I am, right? And like, I'm seeing stuff that's like deep cuts, not just like the most popular Nirvana stuff.
right.
Getting posted on carousels on Instagram, songs that like you didn't really know unless you were there or you're really
Right.
into that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, the whole feel, it all comes back around, man.
Are you still using shoot proof for print sales?
Yeah. Actually, I just saw somebody. I have a video with a link on there, and when they sign up, I get a free month or whatever. But yeah, I still use Shootproof. It's fucking great, man. I love it.
Prints in differently than digital. Yep, of course. I mean, we're looking at, and everything we look at digitally is always lit back, like it's backlit from a screen. Exactly. Like, and then you go to print.
That's actually a really good photo, man, because if you take a printed photo out, right, and you go outside, the light that's going to hit it is different when you're looking at it than if you had your phone,
Right.
which is going to stay the same no matter where you are.
Which I've just noticed in, you know, how we were just discussing how bad I am at printing photos. And I realized like everything I first started trying was so dark. And I'm like, I'm just used to looking at like it on my phone where like, or my computer or whatever, where like everything's calibrated, but it looks brighter always than it actually is.
Yeah.
And then I, you know, was like, oh, it's lit. It's just
Oh,
literally
this is-
on a glowing fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like,
You're looking at a light.
right.
Yeah. No, that's in you know, shooting in film too, man. Like, I don't know. There's something about like photography is truly an art form. Okay. So when I'm out there shooting a photo in a certain type of environment or a certain type of lighting or something like that, I'm catching some type of undercurrent of reality while I'm shooting that's getting put into a digital feed and then put out to a screen, right? It's changing it. Like if I was shooting a film camera
Yep.
at the beach at golden hour or something like that, and I print out that photo, that's the environment's like staying there. It's more retained.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Also, when you're looking at a print, you can't pinch to zoom. There's no fucking like
Right,
pixel peeping. It's like, what does it look like from 10 feet away? That's how it's supposed to look. It's not supposed to, you're not supposed to be
Totally.
up here, like, you know, like this. And as you know, everything looks different, like when you step back, you know? So
Always.
I see, you know, everything. I mean, the hairdressing competition I shoot every year in Europe, it's like sometimes I'll see people and it'll be the end of the competition, like 30-minute or whatever for that time limit, and people will step back and they're horrified at like their haircut. And they're like, oh shit, like I was rushing
like an
so
idiot.
bad during this 30 minutes that like I didn't take a second to just step back and look at it and like be like, oh wow. And I feel like with photos, I do that a lot. I'm always consuming them from right here. And sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe that's why like I fill the frame with all my subject, you know what I mean? Rather than just being like, hold on, step back.
The phone's like training you.
Yeah, in a way it is, and not in a positive way.
That's
it's,
what I mean.
Yeah, it's making me sort of want to make everything big instead of like
taking
letting
over.
things breathe, you know?
Yeah. It's taken over like the actual like that's one thing that I really always try and push back on. Like as much as I talk about like working within those containers of what's happening, you know, nowadays, I don't want the phone to drive how I'm shooting. You know what I mean? Like I want I want the idea, the vision to ultimately drive it. So yeah, you got to make sure that you're cognizant of that for sure.
But a lot of people, including myself, for years, like we had never even seen our images printed on a large scale. I'd seen them printed small, but I've never seen like big prints up until, you know, maybe a few years ago, 5 years ago, when I really started kind of investing in that or getting into it. But
Oh, it's completely different.
yeah, and it's like, oh wait, I've been creating wrong. You know what I mean? Almost like when you look at it like this, you're like, oh shit, I've been doing this wrong for the last.
Like
you know.
it just goes in the medium.
Right.
You know.
So
What do you think about? I wanted to talk about this in terms of trends. I'm seeing a lot of Dutch angle stuff.
Yep.
What do you think about? So I guess I'll give my take on it first. So if you guys go to my portfolio, you go to my feeds or anything like that, Pearl Images on Instagram or pearlimages.com. I shoot a lot of Dutch angle, right? And I started shooting that way before I even knew what that term was. It always just kind of like came to me, right? Now I'm seeing it fucking everywhere. I'm seeing people tilt horizons to the point where the photo's almost fucking sideways.
Yeah.
For a couple that's just standing there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, reason
There's
for it
no
at all, yeah.
reason for it. And it goes with motion too, Dutch angle motion, any type of effect or like just technique that's kind of off a little bit out there.
Right.
People like see somebody else doing it and then they'll run with it, right? So my take on Dutch angle is like Dutch angle is freaking awesome, but you have to be a really skilled photographer to make sure you're doing it well. And there should be multiple complementing components of that photo for it to be Dutch.
Yes, I don't do much without a reason. And I learned that sort of through video editing where there's friggin' transitions and video effects layered on top of layers of just like these edits that I was seeing. And, a few years ago, I guess maybe that was the trend, just like fucking, just shit on top of my video, And I'm like, dude, this someone who knows storytelling or knows cinematography knows like all that stuff should happen for a reason. It should benefit what you're trying to say. A crossfade says time has passed. It doesn't say crossfade from someone dancing 30 seconds ago to someone dancing now. That confuses people because they're like, I thought time had passed, but it didn't, you know? So I don't use a whole lot, again, come back to the commercial sort of aspect where things are clean and simple and like just done right unless there's a reason. I don't use a ton of it. I do. I don't. It doesn't bother me. You know, I mean, I guess any trend sort of irks me the wrong way. But if it was my thing, like if it's kind of like your thing that you like doing, I could understand why it might like kind of rub you the wrong way. Because like everyone's taking this thing that I like and they're ruining this thing I like. You know,
exactly.
Versus,
because I feel like Dutch angle photography, like I feel like shooting Dutch, if you can do it really, really well and you're a skilled photographer and there's intentionality behind those tilted horizons, like the photo it just adds a much more interactive layer with that photo, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not just tilting. So like I actually put up a TikTok thing or whatever to kind of go over a few of my photos that were shot Dutch and why I actually did it. And I was looking through and I was like, man, there are multiple supporting elements in every single one of these photos that make it totally understandable and reasonable to shoot that horizon tilted. Like we had one, right? I shot this amazing engagement session in Cape Cod this summer, right? And the couple actually got in the water, completely submerged and with their clothes on. It was fucking great. And one shot, he's kind of on his back, you know, kind of supported by his elbows, and she's falling into him, right? And absolutely that shot's fucking Dutch angle.
Right.
And the horizon's tilted in the direction that she's falling.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it
accentuates like the movement that's already happening.
Exactly.
Almost.
And it
or
adds
contrast
to it.
depending on which way, I guess.
Well, that's what my angles always tilt in the way of the direction.
Okay.
Mostly I'm left-handed, so most of the time I'm shooting in a way. Yeah, I'm lefty, so most of the time I'm shooting in a way that's the angles, you know, the horizon's angled to the left.
Right. It's just natural for you.
It's natural for me, but I'm always cognizant of like, does this horizon need to signify stability in what's going on in this scene, or does it need to, you know, signify signal motion?
Right. And same thing with video where, I mean, if we're filming us sitting down talking, if this was shaky handheld instead of on a tripod, it wouldn't make any sense. It would be like, why am I feel like I'm shaking when they're just chilling, you know? And if you ever seen like, I think I've used this as an example with you before, but that movie Gravity, there's no horizon because they're always like they're in space. They're always sort of floating. So everything's just sort of constantly moving. And the camera just like most of the time, unless they're strapped in and you know, what I mean, if they're strapped in a seat, then it's stable. But most of the time, if they're floating through, you know, a spaceship or whatever, like the camera just kind of floats with them. They had to build all sorts of special rigs to get that done, but totally impressive. Like you should feel like you're there, right? And if I feel like, you know, perfectly still and I'm supposed to be in a fucking race car or something, you know what I mean? It doesn't work. But if I feel super shaky and we're supposed to just be having a conversation, it doesn't work either. So there's got to be a reason to why you do those things.
This is what,
and you have to know what they mean before you can find the reason, right? You can't just like guess. And I mean, you'll get right a couple times. Broken clock is right twice a day, right? So like, you're not going to, you need to know the rules before you break them. Like that's really it.
It's such a good point, man, because the reality is like, you need to understand in photography, right? When you're taking a photo, you have to understand what your message is, and you have to make sure there isn't conflicting messages in that photo.
Both with the content and the way you
everything, bro.
Position or like the settings within your camera and how you whether it's level or not, but also like what other elements are you including in that frame?
Color sends a message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is this not only just color or black and white, but like what are the complementing colors? Yeah. Do you understand the color wheel? Right. You know, when you're editing, you know, like a lot of new photographers, they don't understand that techniques are not just techniques just because.
Right.
Yeah, they're not just because. What they are is everything. It's a piece of art, and everything, all the other elements are going into the message of what they're shooting. You know what I mean? And I harp on that. And dude, I want to have these conversations. This is a conversation that nobody's having, right? Is like, how do I get my work to send a message, right? And one of the things from the technical side of that, there's a personality side that is like a, you know, an internal makeup of who you just actually are and like what you're naturally drawn to, what you naturally want to say with your work. But then there's this whole other element of like, how can I use the things that I've learned from a technique perspective to gel them together, multiple things, to get this message out?
Right. And that's what makes someone a pro is combining all of that stuff and making it work. Like, it's not like the message a lot, like if you have just one piece of something in that photo that is not relevant to the message, it throws the whole thing off, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you can't have like, I mean, having, I don't know, some sort of tech in the foreground of a picture at the beach. It's just like, it doesn't, you know, it might be an accident.
Perfect
like, take
example.
the time
Awesome.
to get rid of that or whatever, or, you know what I mean? Like, whether it be in person or in post or whatever, but like, everything matters, especially when you consider like sending a message. And that's why we discuss all the time, like how difficult it is to get wide shots that are clear what we're trying to show off with what the message is. It's
Setting,
so
man.
much easier to shoot a tight shot and get, someone's
85.
crying. He's waiting for the bride to walk down the aisle. Very, very easy to understand what's going
Blow
on.
everything out in the back.
Yeah, very easy to also kind of be moved as a viewer by something like that. But when you see something that's shot at like a 28 or a 24, and there's like, you know, there's like the reserve seats up here with, you know, grandma, and you know what I mean? And then you got like this, and everything is just layered, and and it's all got its own space, and it sits, you know,
And
so
everything's
difficult
in
to do.
focus. You know, it's
but-
wide, so it's in focus.
Yep, and
Yeah.
it's so much harder to do that. And I think that's why everyone, including myself, we cop out a lot and go, oh, I know the client will be happy if this just jumps off the page and it's just like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, 150s, you know what I mean, or whatever, like 110, you know, just like zoomed in, just like fill the frame with that person and hope
Yeah.
that you get some emotion and hope that that carries the weight of, you know what I mean? But
Weight of it. Yeah.
some of us, you and I feel like we shoot to try to like break ground, and I'm not happy if like I'm doing something I've already done, where other people, including, I'm in this mood too sometimes where I just gotta make the client happy.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean, sometimes
I don't like
it's-
to be in that phase though.
Sometimes it's just work. But the thing is, man, is like you're absolutely right. And like nowadays, it goes back to the conversation we were having in the beginning. Like, you know, cutting your own path and like standing out amongst all the competition, the saturation in the markets. And so we're kind of in like the worst part of the industry for people who are just kind of mid at what they do.
Right.
Like we're at the worst because you have informed consumers now who see a shitload of content, so they know that there's talented people everywhere. And then you have this whole thing where there's 50 other photographers within a 30-mile radius. You know what I mean? And everybody kind of knows somebody who does it.
Right.
So it's like, if I'm not going to, like, I know my friend of a friend who does it, they'll probably give me a little discount, or I can really go searching for like the more expensive one and all that. So what I'm saying is the only way that you're going to stand out nowadays in that is understanding how to convey a message in
Right.
your work. And that goes with all the work of understanding techniques and how those complement each other, and like, you know, your whole process from you getting your fucking portfolio correct
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that like when they go to your storefront, it's perfect and it sends a message,
Right.
all the way to gelling all those techniques that you've learned,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's not
Oh, it's
it's I'm seeing so many. Sometimes I'll just like, you know, I'm in all these photographer groups on, you know, Reddit, Facebook, everything else, but Facebook is the one that stands out because somebody will leave Boston photographers, I need someone to do a small branding session, whatever. And there's, you know, so I see like, I never even really comment on them unless it's maybe something I can, you know,
Maybe.
picture myself doing, but even then that's rare. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I'll click a lot of these people's page. You can almost tell by their response, me,
Yeah.
and with their fucking, you know
Please.
what I mean? And then you click it and you're like, dude, 7 followers, like 2 pictures of their sister and their kid. You know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing like, it's like they literally just started and they're out here just scouring message boards, like hire me, instead of like just whatever. You know what I mean?
But
it's-
nowadays, dude, and this is what I'm saying is like,
I find it a pastime to sort of just look at these people's stuff and be like,
well, it is kind of, I mean, I don't want to say entertaining because I don't like knock the hustle. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
right, and that's
anybody who's
not
trying
at
to
all
come
what I'm
up,
trying to do,
and I
yeah.
know that's not what you're saying, but
Yeah.
like the reality is, right, is like when I started, bro, like my first wedding was $300. Like I charged $300 to do it.
I charge 6.
Yeah,
600, bro.
But listen to this. I drove 4 hours each way to get to the wedding. I got a hotel out there, so I was obviously losing.
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like I built it up from that.
Right.
So like, you know, I mean, I was always upfront about the fact that like I had no experience about it, right? And back in the day, that worked because there were less photographers out there.
I always find transparency works.
Dude, yeah, but now what I'm saying is like nowadays you're really fighting an uphill battle because there's 5 billion people out there that are trying to climb that ladder too, right? So if you're a new photographer, you got 2 photos on your feed and you're hitting the, you know, the groups trying to get hired.
Just shoot for free.
That's what
Just
I mean. Like you shouldn't be
Yeah.
hitting the Facebook feeds and trying to get work.
Right.
You should be calling your friends and being like, hey, can I practice?
Right.
And build a portfolio.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what do you think, man? You want to hit it for the first one?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Everybody who tuned in, this is great. So, like, honestly, guys, what I want to say is for the next one, we're going to start doing these weekly live streams. Me and John, we're going to be talking shop, talking about the industry, a lot of different topics. But we want to do photo reviews and portfolio reviews. So send in your photos. The email, we'll put it in the show notes, but it's monochromaticmemoirs@gmail.com. And send us your portfolio, anything you want us to review on stream.
Last question here. Are you guys shooting mainly with Zooms or mainly with Primes these days?
Good
and
question.
I am, video-wise, I just find it so much more convenient to shoot with Zooms, especially because I'm not generally shooting in those 1.2, 1.4, 1.8 ranges. I'm always, you know, so I don't need I don't really need, I used to have this obsession with primes where like I would only, you know what I mean?
Everybody has
But
gone through it. Yeah.
I just find now as a convenience thing, and I don't see a difference in the quality really. Like some people say primes are much sharper, and I'm sure they are to a degree, but I don't.
Not nowadays, man.
I don't notice anything,
Yeah, not
especially if
nowadays.
you're not printing it out huge. Like no one's gonna fucking notice.
That's old school.
I usually use, I mean, the Trinity, the 15 to 35, 24 to 70, 70 to 200 is pretty much all you need.
Same with me. I shoot, guys, you guys know I'm a Nikon Z enthusiast. I use a Z8 and 24 to 70 2.8 lens. So, and that's really all I use on a wedding. I shoot the whole wedding.
Yeah, I remember like when a couple weddings ago, I was like, yeah, you one body, one lens, huh? And you're like, that's it. And
I
I'm
got a
like,
backup body.
Yeah, well, you got to have it, but it's like
Yeah.
you don't really use it
I never
unless you
use
need
it.
it. Yeah.
I never ever use it. I've been using that a Z8 and a 24 to 70 2.8 lens for so long. And the reality is, guys, is we're just really good at composition nowadays. So like we don't need to blow things out just because. Like we're really good at composing, and so I feel like having the zoom range is so critical because I know at any focal length, wherever I'm standing, there's a good photo. I know how to find it.
Right.
So yeah, for convenience wise, zooms.
Alrighty, guys. We will be back next week. We're going to try to do more of these live streams, but also I want to push Will into doing a more formal podcast as well. We'll see what happens, but
We will do that for sure.
I appreciate you guys tuning in on the first one.
Make sure you guys send in your requests for photo reviews, portfolio reviews, and all that. And yeah, just happy to be back on the channel and connecting with everybody.
What, roughly the same time, Monday? Next
Yeah,
Monday?
we're going to do, so it's either going to be Monday or Thursdays for the streams, but I'll start posting updates on the channel to let you know what we kind of, are going to settle on in terms of schedule. But we're going to lock down an actual schedule and do it once a week for sure. So,
Alrighty.
all right, guys, peace.